Radiance Films brings the early Brian De Palma anarchic underground comedy Hi Mom to 4K UHD, and this is a pretty astounding package. Now, if you bought the other Arrow set that contained this several years ago, it is a new transfer in 4K HDR Dolby Vision, and it's just like, it's stunning. I kept saying joyous expletives out loud while I was watching this, going and just like, this looks so good. This is amazing. It was a previous called De Niro and De Palma, the early films, which had The Wedding Party, Greetings, and Hi Mom in it. That is now out of print. This carries over some of the Hi Mom extras from that previous release. Just one of them, but there's a bunch of other stuff too, and I'll get to that. So 4K and a Blu-ray. The 4K is the movie and the commentary, and then the Blu-ray is the same transfer, but a bunch of other stuff as well as that commentary. It is Region A only, so this is just for North America. It is in 1:5 aspect ratio, and it features Robert De Niro, Alan Garfield, Lara Parker, yes, Angelique from Dark Shadows is briefly in this film, Charles Durning, Jennifer Salt, and Gerrit Graham. And this was Angelique from Dark Shadows, like right as Dark Shadows was about to wrap up, like within the last year of Dark Shadows. Let's see. It is in English with standard It is in English with SDH subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, and the 4K disc presented in Dolby Vision. It is the sequel to Greetings. So I had forgotten that because it's been so long since I've seen these films, and the whole time I was about to watch this, I was getting this confused with Greetings. I'm like, where's the guy who's obsessed with the Kennedy assassination? Well, that was the previous film. This takes place after the events of Greetings, where De Niro is this young guy who gets a ratty apartment in New York that looks out across onto a really nice big apartment building that has all of these huge picture windows where you're looking, and it's basically just like this gallery of life of all these other people. Hello, Rear Window. And he decides he wants to be a smut maker, and he's going to do something called peep art, where he just sets up a camera, 8mm camera in his window, and just records the goings on of all these people who seemingly live their lives performing for the giant window, whether it's salacious or just people going through their own day-to-day living. And he tries to hook up with Alan Garfield, who's kind of like really kind of low-key hilarious in this movie as the smut peddler. And I don't know how much of his dialogue was improvised, and if it was, he's really good at it, because I was just giggling nonstop through the exchanges between Garfield and De Niro. And basically, De Niro doing this brings him into the orbit of several people from that apartment building. He tries to start a relationship with a woman he sees there, basically so that he can get her to perform with him on camera for the camera that is across the way, which is rather despicable. And he comes in contact with revolutionary actor Gerrit Graham, who's doing this thing called Be Black Baby. It's this like underground radical live theater thing about race and the position of white versus black in America at the time and all this kind of stuff. So the film cuts back and forth between a lot of these, very vignette-y. This film, not Victor Vignetti, he was in a lot of the Beatles films. It's very vignette-y, and at some point, you keep cutting to black and white where they're shooting on the street verite interviews with people about race in America and things like that, and trying to get people to come to this Be Black Baby show and be part of the show. And then eventually you get to see what this show is, which is basically audience members being led by black revolutionaries up this staircase in some dilapidated building, and more or less mentally, if not physically, assaulted. And all kinds of degradation goes on. It's really pretty wild, and it gets kind of serious during that. It's funny at the same time, but funny and serious, and it was making a point at the time. But it also kind of drags the movie down, because the movie has a pretty good pace for the most part, and it's all over the place, and little quick gags and blackout gags and things like that, literally in some cases. And when it gets to the Be Black Baby, it's a really kind of a big chunk of the film, shot in black and white. Sort of 4:3. The rest of the movie is 1:5. This is 4:3, and it kind of derails the pace of the film. That sequence itself is very interesting and well done. It just goes from one thing to off that, and it's kind of hard. It's a little hard for it to reclaim its footing, because you're away from the De Niro and the Jennifer Salt, his girlfriend, fiance, whatever she becomes character. You're away from that for so long that when it goes back to it, you're like, oh yeah, these people. Like, what were they doing? Where were they? What was going on again? And also, the very end of the film ties into where we see the De Niro character at the end of Greetings, which, not having seen Greetings in years since the Arrow set came out, I really didn't remember. So it still has an impact, but I think it has a bit more of an impact if you remember what where you saw De Niro at the end of Greetings. So it's funny, it's unpredictable, very darkly comedic. It's a great treasure trove of like late 60s, early 70s New York City, because it was pretty much all just shot on the street in dirty old New York. And you see Times Square, and you see a lot of, I'm a sucker for signage. So when you get a transfer that's this good and this razor sharp and a TV that's sizable like the one I have, there's a lot of wanting to just pause and read all the signs. You know, what did things cost? What were they advertising? Oh, look at that font. Oh, look at that business that's been gone for decades. So sharp and colorful transfer. Like, it looks great. I can't stress again how good this looks. Special features on the 4K disc, which is what I've been talking about thus far. Audio commentary by Travis Woods, that's very good. Blu-ray, same movie, same transfer, just not in 4K, Dolby Vision HDR, same commentary. Then you get an entire additional feature film, Dionysus in 69. This is 1970. This was, again, a revolutionary underground theater troupe that was putting on this play where they mixed the audience in with the cast, and it was very fluid and very strange, very experimental, and it very much influenced the Be Black Baby section of Hi Mom. You get this film in full. It's 85 minutes. It's the Performance Group was the name of the group that put this on, and I had to shut it off because my tolerance for theater is moderate, but my tolerance for 60s underground avant-garde experimental cinema is rather brief. So I watched it enough to say the transfer looks good. It's as good as it's going to be. It's from the only surviving elements. If you're into that sort of thing, you will receive 85 minutes of it. But once in a while, I try to watch pretty much everything on any of these discs that I review so I can be thorough and let you know what you're going to get. My opinion is my opinion. You may love Dionysus in 69. If you're a huge fan of De Palma, it's going to be very exciting to have this. It just wasn't for me, so I skipped it. There's something called Son of Greetings. This is wild. This is behind the scenes of Hi Mom from 1970. It's edited compilation of footage shot by Peter Davis, 76 minutes. So again, on this Blu-ray disc, you have the full feature of Hi Mom, you have the full feature of Dionysus in 69, and you get a shortish feature of behind the scenes footage of Hi Mom. It's unfortunately slightly motion smoothed, which drives me up a wall. It's the only thing that they were given. They said, there's a disclaimer saying, this is what we were given, this is all that exists. It's film resolution that moves like video, and that just drives me crazy. It was originally shot on, I believe, 16. Some of it has sync sound, some of it doesn't. And it's more or less just a lot of B-roll. It's a lot of, if you ever wished you were on the set of Hi Mom, this is, Son of Greetings gives you that. And it's interesting, but ultimately for me it was kind of tedious because it's just like multiple takes. And if this was a movie I loved, if this was, I don't know, a movie that I hold really dear to my heart or something like that, and it had endless footage on set, I'm just like, I'm all there. This is the closest I'm going to get to having been there. So for you, Son of Greetings may do that. It's 76 minutes. I was shocked that it was that long. Critic and broadcaster Ellen E. Jones examines Hi Moms in terms of its context working within De Palma's career and analyzing the film's satire of race in America. That is a featurette. A lot of times with these Radiance discs, the featurettes, they on the menu, it just has the name of the person. Then you click on it and you get the description I just gave you. That's 12 minutes. So it's a 12-minute analysis of the film, which is very interesting. Charles Hirsch interview this is the Arrow video carryover from that De Palma De Niro set. It is Charles Hirsch interview done in 2018 for Arrow. He was the producer and co-screenwriter of Hi Mom. He discusses the film. That's 10 minutes. And then you get the original trailer, which is 2 minutes. I will show you the packaging. It looks a little something like this. It looks exactly like this. So you get the OB strip as they always put in, but you can slip that right out. And there's that front and back. So it utilizes some original artwork for the film. You see the 2 discs stacked right there. You get your Blu-ray and your 4K. I will take those out so that I can reveal to you the shocking alternate cover. So I love that Radiance does this. They'll do some sort of newish art, which looks like old art, and then they will do the original poster, and you can reverse that if you see fit. If you're like me and you prefer generally to see the original poster to new artwork. Then you get a booklet, which has a couple of articles in it. You get a cast and crew listing. You get any still in this is generally from the new transfer or the original stills. The medium is the message, the interplay of ideas in Brian De Palma's Hi Mom 2026 article by Matt Zoller-Seitz, a note on Dionysus in 69, which basically gives you an explanation of what it is and how it was shot, and then transfer notes and credits. And you get, it's just cool. You get cool photos and original ad art and on-set stills and frame grabs and things like that. So this is a really nice set. Even if you already have, and I keep that in mind. A lot of times it's like, if I already have it, should I buy it again? If you like Hi Mom and you have the 4K setup, I think it's worth it for this, for the extras that are exclusive to this that you won't have in the Arrow set. And it's not like throw the Arrow set away, because it's got 2 other movies and a ton of extras that don't relate to Hi Mom, but the transfer is so good and the extras are interesting. And if you want to see Dionysus in '69, and if you want to spend an hour and 16 minutes on the set of Hi Mom from 1969, 1970, this is where you're going to get it. So available now on 4K UHD in Dolby Vision from Radiance Films is Hi Mom.